When I got back from a week-long trip abroad, I was surprised to get a call from my mother-in-law, Julie. She sounded really excited. She talked about a $100,000 surprise money we had saved up. I was confused and tried to think of a recent time when I had saved that much money. I work as a freelance jewelry designer. I have a savings account for emergencies, but I don't keep a lot of cash on hand. I had my bank card with me the whole trip. Usually, nobody else can take out such a big amount from my account. Julie said, "He gave it to me, so I took it from the drawer in the sideboard. You all are doing great, so it's okay." Her words confused me. Before I could ask more questions, she quickly thanked me and suggested that she would need my help with money in the future before hanging up. I was confused about the missing $100,000 until my husband Larry came home and cleared things up. A month later, Julie called me many times. I didn't pay attention to them at first. The ringing kept going, so I had to pick up. It was surprising to see more than 50 missed calls on my phone. When I answered, Julie's loud voice filled the room, saying I was ignoring her. She sounded like she thought something was unfair, but I saw it as just her making assumptions. I am Olivia, a 37-year-old freelance jewelry designer. I want children, but I feel overwhelmed by my work. My husband, Larry, is also very busy. He had a corporate job before, but now he helps me run my growing design business. At the start of our marriage, I didn't have many design jobs, so we mostly relied on Larry's regular paycheck. Now, as my business grows, our roles and responsibilities have changed, but so have our challenges, like handling unexpected family misunderstandings about money. As I got closer to 34, my job as a jewelry designer was getting better, and I needed to plan my busy schedule more effectively. As my business needs increased, Larry, who was doing great at his job and was about to get a promotion, made a brave decision. He left his job to come work with me, using his management skills to support our business. We worked together and got contracts with big international brands, making our work and personal lives better. But with success, new problems showed up, especially with Larry's mom, Julie. She lived by herself and thought our lives were very nice, often asking us for money. "You always look like you're living in luxury. I feel jealous," she would say. My job made me go to product launches and dinners with important people, and Julie thought these were fun events. Her asks for money got more personal as time went on. "I'm planning to have a party for my friend soon. Can you give me some money for it?" she asked one time. Even if it seemed like we could pay for it, maintaining our business image was costly and came with many responsibilities. We didn't have a fancy life. These were important parts of our job. Julie, feeling jealous and sarcastic, didn't get our costs. "You look so nice, eating at fancy restaurants. I wish I could do that," she'd say. Even though I said no many times, Larry, her son, would sometimes agree to what she wanted. "If giving her some money makes her quiet, then it's a good idea," he'd say, thinking it's simpler to keep her happy than to let our work get interrupted. But Julie's requests just got bigger. She wanted a new dress for a gathering coming up soon. Recently, Julie visited and bothered Larry. "Could a three-piece suit be good? They asked us to buy clothes before," she said. "There could be less expensive choices, but what Julie wants is definitely not low cost." I told Julie that it was a nice party and she couldn't be the only one wearing old clothes. She wanted a bag that matched, and that made us upset. Larry made a credit card in Julie's name to help with her many requests for money. At first, she spent too much money and Larry had to tell her to be careful. He asked her to let us know before she made big purchases, but she kept spending a lot anyway. This never-ending need for money made both Larry and me very tired. It was tiring to help my family and also keep our business steady. I found a beautiful ring and couldn't help but buy it, but I wish I had told you first. The bill was really big, Julie said. If spending is going to be this out of control, maybe it's a good idea to take the card back. We can't pay for these costs, Larry said. Julie had the credit card, but Larry took care of it and paid the bills. Julie acted like the card had no limit, not knowing that she had to pay for every purchase. Because the money wasn't coming straight from her, she kept using it without worry. To control her spending, Larry set a limit on her card. Julie stormed into our home one day, frustrated. "What the heck? I couldn't pay for my shopping the other day," she complained. Larry and I explained that her excessive spending was straining our finances, so we had to lower her limit. "It's still enough, right?" Larry asked, trying to keep the peace. "But you two are still dressing up and going to fancy places. How is what I'm doing any different?" Julie protested. Thinking our activities were just for fun, she failed to see the reality. "That's part of our job, Julie." "If that's a job, then what I'm doing isn't any different. It's unfair that only you two get to have all the fun," she argued. "While it's true that our work involves attending events in luxurious venues, these are professional obligations, not leisure activities." Despite her misunderstandings, setting a limit on Julie's credit card seemed to calm things down. Occasionally, Julie would visit and complain to Larry, but overall, life continued without major disruptions. As the year ended, an exciting opportunity came up. A foreign brand manufacturer approached me with a proposal to expand our business by moving overseas. This prospect thrilled me, as it could elevate me to the ranks of top-tier designers. Larry, ever supportive as my manager, was all for it. "It's a chance we have to take," he affirmed. However, the idea of moving abroad brought a new concern: Julie. Given her past behavior, it was a real worry that she might insist on joining us overseas. The thought of living internationally was exciting, but dealing with Julie's demands in a new country was daunting. When we told Julie about our plans to move overseas for work that weekend, she reacted as we expected. "I want to come too," she declared, assuming our move would be a long vacation. Larry tried to explain, "We're going there for work. It won't be as leisurely as you think." But Julie was skeptical. "You're trying to trick me. You're planning to live even more lavishly there without me watching," she accused. "We're not moving there permanently. We'll come back after our work is done," I explained, trying to calm her concerns. Yet she retorted, "You're saying that, but you're planning to leave me behind, aren't you?" Larry and I were both exhausted by this repetitive argument. In an attempt to compromise, Larry suggested, "Okay, we can't take you with us, but how about we pay for a week-long trip for you instead?" Julie perked up at this. "Really, are you sure?" "We'll cover your flight and hotel, but you'll need to manage the rest," Larry affirmed. This pleased her for the moment. However, the peace was short-lived. A few days later, while Larry was busy with the move arrangements, Julie dropped by unexpectedly. "Hey, Olivia, Larry said I want to shop over there too. Can you give me some money?" she asked. "What about the card that Larry gave you?" I inquired, knowing she had a designated credit card for such expenses. Julie's face fell. "That's the thing. Larry finally took it away from me the other day," she admitted. It seemed she had been reprimanded for overspending. Anticipating the challenges of managing finances with different currency rates overseas, Larry had confiscated the card. "I don't have that kind of money at hand either. I can't give you money without Larry's approval. Can you ask him?" I suggested. "It's no use asking him." "That's why I'm asking you," she pressed, raising her voice in frustration. Julie did end up going on a 15-day trip abroad, which I assumed Larry managed to fund somehow. Upon her return, she called me, brimming with excitement. "I'm back and it was so fun." She shared tales of her sightseeing and dining adventures, though I hadn't asked. I overbought souvenirs and couldn't fit them in my suitcase, so I had them shipped here. Can't wait for them to arrive, she exclaimed. That's nice, I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral despite feeling a bit overwhelmed. Thanks to the money you saved up, I had a blast, she exclaimed. Saved up money? What are you talking about? I responded, puzzled and a bit alarmed, having no recollection of setting aside money for her splurge. I found it in your house's sideboard drawer, she said, claiming she took $100,000. I was stunned. Why would such a large amount of cash be stashed away at home, especially not in a drawer where anyone could find it? Confused, I confronted her. I'm not sure what money you're talking about, but taking it from our house without permission is theft, even if you're family. Do you understand that? Julie's response was unsettlingly casual. That's why I'm telling you now. I used it. Consider it a post-factum report, she declared unapologetically. I have no idea about this money, but if you took it and used it without telling anyone, that's a crime. And if it was something Larry had set aside for an important transaction, it's even more serious, I explained, trying to make sense of the situation. Despite this, there hadn't been any noticeable disruptions in our business finances during her trip. You two live so extravagantly, so why can't I have a little of that? Think of it as doing a favor for your parent. It's not a big deal, right? She rationalized, showing a sense of entitlement that was hard to comprehend. It's one thing to ask for help from your son and his wife, but this is not how you should behave after taking someone else's money, I replied, still in disbelief. I'm glad you enjoyed your trip, but I'll have to discuss this with Larry when he returns. Larry will understand. After all, I'm his only mother, and $100,000 isn't much to him, she assumed. All right, I'll pass the message along, I said, astounded by her lack of awareness. Later that evening, when Larry came home, he looked troubled. Olivia, do you know about the money I left in the drawer? He asked urgently. 20 days ago, I withdrew it from my bank account, and now it's gone. Keeping such a large sum in a drawer, didn't you think it was careless? I questioned. I needed cash immediately for an urgent payment. Do you know anything about it? It suddenly clicked. Julie's earlier call thanking me for the $100,000 and mentioning how much fun she had made sense now. It was Larry's money, meant for a crucial purpose. Larry, today Julie called thanking us for the $100,000 and saying she had a blast with it, I explained. I didn't understand what she meant until now. I explained, piecing everything together. So it was Larry's money, but what was such a large amount meant for? I asked. Hey, if it wasn't for a business payment, we've been doing bank transfers for a long time, right? Why cash all of a sudden? I questioned, trying to understand the whole situation and deal with the consequences of Julie's actions. I knew it was Larry's money that had disappeared, but I didn't know the full story. Julie had taken the money without telling us, and I needed to understand why. I asked Larry, puzzled by the situation. Larry began to explain. After he reduced the credit limit on Julie's card, she started secretly borrowing money from various sources. These included consumer finance cards and credit cards she had opened without our knowledge. When Larry found out about her growing debt, he took away all her cards and withdrew cash to settle her debts directly. He aimed to bypass the banking system to keep our business accounts clean and maintain trust with our partners. This was also partly a farewell gesture, as we were moving abroad and wouldn't be around to manage such issues for her. Larry explained, I planned to handle her debts discreetly to prevent our financial records from getting complicated. A month had passed since then, and as I was busy packing for our move, Julie's frequent calls became hard to ignore. When I finally took her call, her voice was filled with desperation. Why aren't you answering my calls? I've called so many times, she said, almost in tears. "I'm sorry, Julie. I've been caught up with the move. What's going on?" I asked, trying to remain calm and give her a chance to explain her side. "It's not just one thing, it's everything. They're asking for payments almost every day. It's too much," Julie confessed, her voice cracking under the strain. "Have you tried contacting Larry about this?" I asked, hoping she had sought his help first. "He seems to be blocking my calls. I can't get through to him at all. Olivia, you're my only hope now. Please help me," she pleaded. I realized then just how complex the situation had become. Julie's financial recklessness had led her into a maze of debt. Now, cut off from Larry's assistance, she was turning to me as her last resort. As we prepared to start anew in a foreign country, dealing with Julie's financial chaos demanded immediate attention before we could fully focus on our new beginnings. I was surprised by Larry's drastic approach toward his mother. If he had used the prepared funds to settle Julie's debts directly, the stressful situation might have been avoided. Now Julie was overwhelmed with collection letters and constant calls from finance companies and lenders. It was like a scene from a dramatic film, something I never thought I'd see in real life. I'll talk to Larry, but I can't guarantee what he'll do. A son should help his mother in trouble, right? Please ask him for me, Julie pleaded at the end of our conversation. But with our business expansion coming up, our finances were already stretched thin. We couldn't afford to help Julie more, especially since she misused the money meant to settle her debts. When I told Larry about the call, he responded with a mix of fatigue and resignation. I had planned to sort things out before we left, but she squandered that chance herself, he said coldly. The money was originally meant to clear Julie's debts, but she spent it on a lavish trip, leaving no room for excuses. As Julie's calls continued, I followed Larry's lead and blocked her number. Part of me wished to help her. She was, after all, Larry's mother. But there was nothing I could do if he chose to detach from the situation. Meanwhile, our move overseas was fast approaching, and I still had a lot to pack. Amid the chaos, I discovered more troubling news. Julie had decided to sell her house to manage her debts. It turned out she had hidden even more liabilities than we knew. The total amount was so large that even after selling her property, she couldn't cover it all. Losing the family home where Larry had grown up was deeply upsetting. "Our family home is gone. Are you okay with that?" I asked, sensing his sadness. "How can I be okay? But there's nothing we can do," Larry replied, his voice tinged with sorrow. Losing the house where he grew up must have felt like a great loss, much like how I felt when I lost my parents' house early in life. Amid these complex feelings and the heavy task of packing, we had to come to terms with the fact that some situations were beyond our control. We needed to focus on our future. As we prepared to start anew in a different country, the bittersweet reality of losing a family home struck me deeply. I saw what happened with Larry. Unlike before, Larry lost the house where he made his first memories and his safe place for feelings, and this happened while his mother, Julie, was still alive. It's a tough feeling to explain, the mix of losing something and feeling out of place, especially in such sad situations. It's not just about losing a building. It's about losing a piece of your past, and the comfort of a place you could go back to that isn't there anymore. Julie lives in a simple apartment and deals with her debts every day. She has a part-time job, which is hard because of her age. Job options for older people are few and often require a lot of physical effort and are not very satisfying. This new situation is a big change from her old life of spending freely and having money to do what she wanted. I feel sorry for her when I see her struggle, but I also know that her situation comes from her own bad money choices. Life shows us that what we do has effects, and Julie's situation reminds us that being responsible with money is important for everyone. In our new place, the business is doing really well, even better than we thought. Moving abroad has put our brand in the global spotlight, leading to many questions and offers from around the world. Every new email and call can help us grow and work together, which is exciting but also a lot of work. Success is exciting, but it takes up all our time, leaving little space for other things. Days turn into nights as we move through different time zones and cultures, trying to enjoy this great chance. Even with our work successes, our personal lives feel heavy because of our busy schedules. We want to grow our family, but it feels far away right now. We hope to think about it again when things calm down. Larry takes care of everything from planning to working with clients, and he really feels the pressure. As partners in life and business, we think about our future and what matters to us. We wonder how to balance our work goals with our personal wishes. I look out of our apartment window and see the big view outside, the bright lights mixed together in the night, just like how our everyday lives can feel mixed up. This view, full of hope and mystery, is very different from the familiar streets we used to know. This city is lively and never stops. It is now our home, but it is very different from the calm, simple life we had before. Our new life is fun, but also a bit scary. It has many tasks and choices that test us all the time. As I go through this new time, I often think about Julie's situation and what it means for our family and money choices. It's a constant process of learning, seeing how much our choices are connected to our lives. Every choice, every sacrifice, and every success affects not only our current situation, but also the legacy we create for the future. This view, full of hope and mystery, is a big change from the streets we used to know. This city is lively and never stops, and now it is our home, but it is quite different from the calm life we used to have. Our new life is fun, but also hard, with many tasks and choices all the time. As we go through this new time, I often think about Julie's situation and how our family and money choices impact everything. We continue to learn how our choices are closely linked to our lives. As we start this new part of our life, we work to find a balance between reaching our goals and keeping the relationships that matter to us beyond our work success. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. I want to talk about an important time in my life that had a lot of tough moments with my in-laws and my husband, especially during our divorce. I hope my story connects with anyone who has dealt with unfair criticism from their in-laws. Let me show you how it all started. I met Liam, my husband, who is now not in my life, on a dating app when I was 21 and in college. Liam was 25 years old, had a job, and was doing well. Even though we are different ages, we fell in love. I have always thought that love doesn't depend on age or appearance, so Liam being older never bothered me. Liam was worried about the difference in our ages. He often asked, "Why are you with me, Laura? You might find someone your age who could be a better fit." I picked him because I loved him. For me, age is only a number. Liam had a lot of worries about himself. He kept saying, "There has to be another reason, Laura. It's not common for someone like you to care for someone like me. Less than text, I want you to just tell me the true reason." I told him many times that my feelings were real. I didn't want to date someone who is my age. I loved him, and that was what was important to me. Even though I tried to reassure him, Liam still felt unsure about himself. It seemed like he had bigger self-esteem problems that had made him stay single before we got together. I wanted to show my real care, so I made sure Liam didn't spend too much on me. When I was in college, I didn't have a lot of money, but I still bought him nice gifts and took care of my spending. I always had part-time jobs, so I wouldn't rely on him for money. Liam seemed to like what I was doing, but sadly, his worries didn't go away. He kept doubting if I really loved him, and that made me feel very sad. It took me 4 years to really get what caused Liam's problems. I met Liam's parents, Jess and Diane, and I found out more about where he comes from. Liam's dad, Jesse, won the lottery, and it really changed their lives a lot. This made it clear to me why Liam thought the way he did and why he had some worries. After they won, Jess and Diane got a big house and used their money smartly. But their new money made them feel better than others. In our first meeting, Jesse kept talking about how successful he was, saying, "Not everyone makes it big like me." I worked really hard and see where it took me. Do you know how uncommon it is to win the lottery? I did it on my first try. They were proud of their decision-making skills and often implied that Liam, despite his college education, would never reach their level of financial success. Diane suggested that Liam's previous partners were only after his money and left him once they were financially better off. They openly doubted Liam's ability to make good decisions, which infuriated me. It seemed like Liam's parents saw every woman he dated as a gold digger. Over time, Liam began to believe this narrative. This insinuation that I was just another gold digger became an embarrassing and hurtful part of their story. Fed up with their baseless assumptions, I stood up for both Liam and myself. "I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you. Liam has worked hard to establish his career and will achieve even greater success in time." Jessa retorted, "Well, that doesn't change the fact that women only want him for money. The money we have is ours, but Liam does co-own the house. Eventually, it will be his. Every time these girls see our $500,000 house, I swear they just see dollar signs." I couldn't hold back. "I can't speak for Liam's past relationships, but I'm certainly not in this for the money. I love your son, and that's why we're together. I have no interest in your house." Diane then said, "Don't worry, Laura. Sometimes it's hard to accept that people can be successful and live in nice houses. You live in a small rented apartment with roommates. You might start desiring it after spending time around our house too." Their comments pushed my patience to the limit, and I was on the verge of losing my temper. Liam heard everything but chose not to respond or defend himself. Instead, he steered the conversation in a different direction. His indifferent attitude on our way home took me by surprise. After a particularly tense visit with his parents, I decided it was important to talk to Liam directly about the issue. "Liam, your parents are being unfair and hurtful to both of us. Why didn't you stand up for me?" Liam sighed, clearly frustrated. "What did you expect me to say, Laura? My past isn't great. I've been used before by people who only cared about my parents' wealth, making plans for when they'd inherit the house. Even if they were wrong before, that doesn't mean they're wrong about everything." I felt a pang of hurt. "Just because those women were after your money doesn't mean I am. It hurt that you stayed silent while your family insulted me." Liam looked conflicted. "You know my family is wealthy now, and maybe they have a point. I'm not saying you have bad intentions, but I can see why it might look questionable to others. You don't have wealthy parents, and that might make you seem more reliant on my inheritance." His words were almost too much to bear. "What you're suggesting is absurd, Liam. I've never pressured you to spend on me. Not having an inheritance does not make me a gold digger." Liam remained stubborn, unwilling to see my perspective. "I love you, and that's what matters. Let's not argue about this anymore," he said, dismissing the need for further discussion. While some might have taken comfort in his declaration of love, I couldn't shake the feeling that he still had doubts about my intentions. I tried repeatedly to discuss it, even suggesting therapy to help him see things more clearly, but he refused, insisting there was nothing wrong. As time went on, I began distancing myself from his family. We got engaged right after I graduated from college, and I landed a decent job, which allowed me to start saving for our wedding. We shared the wedding expenses equally and married when I was 25. However, the next 5 years of our marriage were rocky. Liam frequently visited his parents, each time returning more distant and upset. I knew Jesse and Diane continued to poison his mind, still branding me as a gold digger. Despite my pleas for him to reduce contact with them, Liam continued to see his parents often. Their negative influence began to deeply affect his view of our relationship, convincing him that no one could truly love him for who he was. Even after years of my unwavering love, Liam's suspicion towards me never seemed to ease. The weight of constantly having to prove my sincerity grew increasingly exhausting. However, the moment that truly tested us came on Liam's birthday. Preferring a low-key celebration, we decided to have a small cake party at our home. I was excited to make his day special. I surprised Liam with the expensive watch he had admired for a long time. He was thrilled with the gift, but my heart sank when he suggested we show it off to his parents. Despite my hesitation, I went along with him. When we arrived, Liam couldn't wait to show his new watch to his parents. "Mom, Dad, look at this beautiful watch Laura got me. I've wanted it for so long. Isn't it stunning?" His enthusiasm was clear. Diane responded with slight surprise. "Oh, Liam, it seems she does love you after all. We were quite worried for some time." But Jesse quickly added, "Don't be fooled, Diane. She's a gold digger. She married our son because we have a $500,000 house. Let's not ignore the facts." I couldn't contain my frustration. "Excuse me, why do you think I married your son for your house? I've been working and living in an apartment for years. Besides, if age was a concern, why would I marry someone older unless I truly loved him?" "I assure you, I didn't marry Liam for his money or your house. I married him because I love him. Surely Liam can confirm that, right?" To my astonishment, Liam remained silent. His reluctance to defend me in front of his accusing parents was deeply unsettling. I felt increasingly isolated as he avoided making eye contact, sinking under their harsh assumptions. Pushed to my limit, I confronted him. "Liam, why aren't you saying anything? Your parents have always labeled me a gold digger. How will they ever see the real me if you don't speak up? Why are you so quiet? Tell them they're wrong." Liam's hesitation was palpable. He muttered, I don't know what you want me to say, Laura. Maybe my parents aren't completely wrong. There might be a possibility." His words trailed off, but the implication was clear. This inability to stand by me was more than just a simple misunderstanding. It was a fundamental crack in the foundation of our relationship, casting a shadow over our love and my place in his life. Liam's birthday celebration quickly turned sour. I was astounded by the accusations flying my way. "Are you serious right now, Liam? You believe I married you for your assets?" His parents chimed in, their suspicion clear. "Oddly, you've never thought about buying a house, have you? For someone renting, owning a home should be a top priority. You haven't even talked about it with him. Our place is out of your price range. You could never afford something like this on your own, so marrying Liam and settling here seems more logical." Liam looked at me with a mix of doubt and confusion. "Yeah, Laura, why would you marry me? You might have feelings for me, but I think there's more to it than just love." I was left speechless by their words. All the love and affection I had felt for Liam seemed to disappear instantly. Both my in-laws and my husband saw me as nothing more than a gold digger. While the skepticism from his parents was hurtful, Liam's agreement cut the deepest. At that moment, I decided to end our marriage. I didn't reveal my decision right away. Instead, I waited for the right moment. Once Liam and I were back home, I contacted a lawyer and began the divorce process. The lawyer assured me that everything would be ready within a week. Meanwhile, I moved into a separate room to give myself some space. Liam thought I was just cooling off and had no idea of my intention. When the divorce papers were ready, I gathered my belongings and left. Liam, clearly distressed, called me in a panic. I told him to meet me at a specific address and to bring his parents. Despite his confusion, he complied. As they arrived, I stood waiting on the porch of a stunning house. Their expressions shifted to surprise as they took in the scene. "You must be wondering why I brought you here," I said, gesturing to the luxurious surroundings. "It's a beautiful house, isn't it? No one can compare their home to this one. It's worth around $5 million in today's market. Quite expensive, right?" The dramatic setting was my way of showing them that their accusations and suspicions were unfounded. I was not the person they thought I was, and I needed to make that clear in the most unforgettable way. "But it's worth every penny," I said, gesturing toward the lavish interior of the house, which also boasted furniture worth millions. "What is this place, Laura? I don't understand why you have access to such a house," Liam asked, puzzled. "Why don't you all come in so we can talk properly?" "I can't explain everything standing here on the porch," I suggested, brushing off their astonishment as I led them inside. They followed, their eyes widening in awe at the opulent decor. As we settled into the plush sofas, I took a deep breath, ready to address the elephant in the room. "I've made a decision, and that's why we're here." "I filed for divorce," I stated, handing over the papers. "We can proceed with an uncontested divorce if you agree." "What? I don't understand. Why are you filing for divorce?" Liam's voice was a mix of confusion and concern. "It's simple," I replied. I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. "You and your parents think I'm a gold digger. You believe I married you for your house and money. Despite everything I've said, you've refused to listen. So it's better for everyone if I leave, sparing you from what you deem my gold-digging tendencies. You're considering divorce just because my parents spoke what they believed to be the truth. That's ridiculous," Liam retorted, disbelief coloring his tone. "I think it's for the best," I replied, firm in my resolve. His mother, watching the exchange with an unreadable expression, chimed in, "If she's so adamant, you should just sign the papers, Liam. Then at least you can find someone who truly loves you." "Why did you bring us to this house, Laura? Do you expect me to buy this for you as part of our divorce settlement?" Liam asked, suspicion in his voice. "Why would I need you to buy this house, Liam?" "This house is already mine," I answered calmly, watching their shock and disbelief unfold. They looked at me as if I were joking. "How on earth can you afford a house like this? You're renting, and your job isn't enough to cover something like this." "Stop lying to us," Liam's father demanded, his tone sharp with suspicion. Their disbelief was palpable, but I was ready to prove my independence and financial capability once and for all. "I'm not lying," I asserted firmly. "Liam, remember when I mentioned that my parents left me some inheritance? Well, this house is part of it. It's under a trust for now, but I will officially inherit it when I turn 32. I don't need to work a high-paying job because I have a trust fund waiting for me." "That's impossible," Liam interjected. "Your parents passed away a long time ago. They should have given you the house earlier." "My parents were aware of the potential leeches I might attract," I explained. "So they instructed me never to disclose the house or the trust fund to anyone. They wanted to keep everything safe until I turned 32. By then, they hoped I would be settled with someone who genuinely cared about me, not my inheritance." "Oh my God, Laura, you should have told us about your wealth," Liam's mother exclaimed. "We had no idea this is a sizable house you have. We could all live very comfortably here." Yeah, you should have shared that sooner, Liam added, looking relieved yet somewhat embarrassed. We thought you were after our house. We could have avoided all the misunderstandings. I always knew Laura was perfect for Liam, his father chimed in, his tone shifting dramatically. I've been saying she's a great woman. Look how wealthy she is. Liam found a great match. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Their attitude toward me had changed so quickly, it made my head spin. What was even more bizarre was that they seemed to forget about the divorce papers I had brought. Pulling out the papers, I signed them. Here's my signature for an uncontested divorce. You can just sign these to make it easy. If you want to fight, we can take this to court, but I won't live with you anymore. Wait, Laura, listen to me, Liam pleaded. There's no need to rush this. You've already proven you're not a gold digger. There's no reason to get a divorce anymore. We even apologize for any misunderstanding that should make things better, right? Yes, Jessie is right. We're sorry, Laura. We doubted you for no reason, his mother added, her voice filled with regret. Despite their apologies and sudden change of heart, the memory of their judgments and accusations lingered in my mind. I couldn't stay in a relationship where trust had to be proven rather than given. I don't want your insincere apologies, I said firmly, my resolve unwavering. For 4 years you allowed your family to berate me and call me a gold digger. I expected you to defend me, but instead you sided with them and even accused me of the same. I can't stay with someone who doesn't respect his wife. I'm done, Liam. We can part ways amicably or involve the courts. The choice is yours. Diane and Jessie tried desperately to change my mind, pleading with me to overlook the past. To them, what had happened was just a minor misunderstanding. However, their lack of genuine remorse for tarnishing my reputation only fueled my anger. When I reached my breaking point, I demanded that they leave before I called the police. My firm stance intimidated them, and they left without further argument. Over the next few weeks, Liam and his parents continued to harass me. They begged, pleaded, and even offered bribes to persuade me to stay. Their belief that money could sway my decision only intensified my fury. It was a stark reminder that they still saw me as someone motivated by financial gain. Ironically, since Liam co-owned the house with his parents, I was entitled to half of his share. This only fueled their desperation for reconciliation. Despite their relentless attempts, I stayed firm in my decision to leave. I moved all my belongings to my parents' house, asserting my right to stay there. Even before officially taking ownership, Liam and his parents kept trying to reach out. So I changed my phone number to avoid their constant calls from unknown numbers. Liam even tried to discuss matters at my workplace, but I had informed security beforehand, and they asked him to leave. Liam still hadn't signed the divorce papers, holding out hope that I would change my mind. Nearly a year had passed, and the situation remained unresolved, showing how complex and emotional our lives had become. With less than a year left until the divorce is finalized, I've managed quite well on my own, living independently. I found both happiness and financial stability. While I've gone on a few dates, I'm not considering anything serious at the moment. According to a cousin of Liam's, his family is now worried about having to pay me my rightful share of the house. The legal fees are mounting, and their savings are proving to be insufficient. Liam is even advocating for selling the house, harboring resentment toward his parents for the chaos they've caused in his life. At this point, I simply don't care about their problems. My only goal is to be free from that toxic family and move on with my life, leaving the chaos and negativity behind. My parents welcomed me back with open arms, providing the support and comfort I needed during this difficult time. They were surprised by the turn of events, but understood my decision. Moving back home allowed me to reconnect with old friends and focus on rebuilding my life. I found a new job that I enjoy, and my colleagues have become a second family to me. Liam and his parents didn't give up easily. They continued to send letters and emails, pleading for reconciliation. I ignored their attempts, knowing that engaging with them would only prolong the emotional turmoil. It was clear to me that they were more concerned about their financial situation than genuinely apologizing for their behavior. During this time, I focused on self-improvement and personal growth. I enrolled in a few online courses to enhance my skills and took up new hobbies to keep myself busy. I began therapy to help me understand my feelings and make good choices for my future. My therapist showed me that leaving a bad relationship was the right thing to do. I started to feel better about my choice. While the divorce took a long time, I kept track of everything. I wrote down everything that happened when I talked to Liam and his family. This careful method helped my lawyer handle the legal details of the case. It also made me feel like I had control over a situation that seemed really big and hard to handle. Even though they tried hard to get me back, I stayed firm. I understood that going back to Liam would mean facing more years of not trusting him and being controlled. I deserved more than that, and I was set on making a life without their impact. Liam's cousin told me about their money problems. The growing legal costs and the chance of losing their home were really stressing them out. I felt good knowing that they were dealing with the results of what they did. But I also understood that my happiness was not based on their pain. I was paying attention to my own path and the good changes I was making in my life. Liam finally decided to sign the divorce papers. I felt a huge sense of relief. It was the end of a hard time and the start of a new one. Now that the legal process is moving ahead, I can see a clear way to freedom and peace. In the end, I became stronger and tougher. I learned important lessons about my value and why it's good to stand up for myself. I found out that being alone is better than being in a relationship where I'm not appreciated or respected. I told myself that I will always aim for what I truly deserve. Leaving Liam and his family was the best choice I ever made. It helped me take back my life and create a future that I want. I was not defined by what they thought or said about me anymore. I could be myself and follow my dreams without worrying about what they thought. I think about the past and I feel good about my choices. The trip was hard, but it made me a stronger person. I discovered happiness and fulfillment by myself, showing that I didn't need anyone else's approval to have a meaningful life.